What's up? Hey, hello, everyone. Wow. So today we are back finally talking about Survivor Season 38 Edge of Extinction, Episode 4, the Tribe Swap. So my name is Rachel.
And I'm Alyssa, and you guys may have noticed that we didn't podcast last week, and that is because we have a variety of scheduling conflicts that comes with being a college student sometimes. Normally, we end up being able to get things together, but last week we just could not get our stuff together. And the earliest we could have podcasted was Tuesday, and it's like, why podcast on Tuesday when there's just going to be another episode the next day? So, we're going to be touching on a couple things from last week's episode, but we're mostly going to be focusing on the episode that aired this past Wednesday. So,
Yeah, and the time zones also make it very hard because a 3-hour time difference we are working with. But I think these two episodes really flowed well into one another. Like the stuff that we saw last week, we also saw some of the similar things happen this week. So we'll talk about everything and anything and everything with this podcast. Super, super exciting. Next week we will be podcasting on Thursday. So we'll have an earlier podcast next week than Friday or Saturday. But Rick was voted out in this episode of Survivor. I was very, very shook, still am very shook by this episode. Rick Devens gets the last name treatment, first-time player, and he's on the reunion show of Survivor season 37 in the preview that they showed, but he's voted out fourth place. Literally did not make any sense. Like, granted, Blue Tribe is being decimated right now and they don't have that many players to showcase that are like actually interesting characters, and we haven't really seen that much personality from the Yellow Tribe yet. So I'm like, we lose Rick, and I feel like he's one of the more interesting players this season.
yeah, I feel like Rick is one of the more interesting newbies. I would say him and Wendy are the newbies that I'm like, yeah, these are interesting people to talk about and see on my screen. And I think that other than them, it's like the returnees are the ones that really I'm looking at, especially Kelly. So
Yeah, especially Rick and Wendy were both in the preview and the reunion show of season 37. So it's like, I don't know, it really doesn't make much sense. Like, why is Rick getting so much screen time, airtime, last name treatment just to be voted out fourth place pre-merge? And Peridium just named Rick in his like top 4 contenders for the season, and then Rick is voted out that night. And I feel like Rick is like super interesting. On Reddit, they post like the confessional numbers. And for Rick is like high up in confessionals. He's had 11 confessionals the first 4 episodes. So he's tied with like War Dog for fourth place with number of confessionals. Everyone on the blue team, Wendy's first, then David, Kelly, War Dog with 11, going 16, 13, 13, 11. Makes sense considering they've been going to tribal council a lot more. But like, I don't know. I was just very shook, but I think smart move if you're thinking strategically to vote Rick out because he is so likable. Probably people's winner picks, and Lauren's easier to bring along. It was just so out of left field.
yeah, I feel like one of the things about Rick now, though, is that Extinction Island, if you look at the people at Extinction Island, Rick is the one who has the highest chance, I think, of being able to come back into the game with a competitive edge. Like I think of the other 3 people on Extinction Island, Reem, Keith, Chris, it's like I can't see any of them winning the game, but I could see Rick coming back in and then going to win it all, which I think would be really interesting if someone from Extinction Island was then the person who won the game.
Yeah, because honestly, he's getting a lot of screen time and all of that. So it's like maybe he comes back into the game in the merge challenge, whatever they're going to do for the Extinction Island people. So maybe that's why he's being hyped up so much and like has gotten a lot of confessionals, has pretty positive screen time, I feel like. Seems like he has a lot of fans. So maybe that's the story arc for Rick. I feel like yeah, strategically vote him out makes a lot of sense. You break up the Rick and David alliance, but it doesn't even seem like Rick and David, like their alliance was so blatantly obvious. I think they did a good job like hiding it from their other tribe members. So it seemed like it blindsided Rick and David, but maybe David was along for the play and voted his ally out, but I guess we don't know.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because when you look at like the alliances, it was really about, I think, whether you were going to vote out David's biggest ally or Kelly's biggest ally. And so that was interesting, I thought. And I think it was
Yeah.
interesting because David's biggest ally ended up being more of a threat in the game than Kelly's biggest ally. And it's like, what does that say about those two people as well?
Because
So,
it's also sad. I like the whole Rick David thing, the whole foreshadowing in like episode 1 or 2 where Rick is like, yeah, dude, I'll take you to final 4 or 5, then cut your throat. Like, let's shake on it. It was all like so cute, fun, like premonition of the future, but now it may or may not happen. But like they seemed like they had a really good alliance kind of thing, but it seemed like it was very under the radar. So it's I guess it would be interesting to know if David was in on the plan to vote Rick out, but just didn't vote Rick out for like friendship's sake, or if David was actually blindsided with this episode as well. I think with this vote, like, why Rick this episode, it's interesting that the whole target shifted off of Kelly, even though she has been the target the past 3 weeks. Just because now they think that Kelly like has the idol, which I don't know. I feel like this episode arguably would have been the time to target Kelly or David. David's name just has not come up at all that we're seeing. So good job on David. They're thinking Kelly has an idol, so they don't want to vote her. But I feel like this time would be the perfect time to vote out a returning player.
yeah, I think the time is good for a returning player, except for if they do think that Kelly has the idol, it's like there's no way they can split the vote on a tribe of five because it's like you have a 3-2 majority. Oof, couldn't say that word. So it's like there's no way to split the vote. So no matter what happens, the person you want is going home. So
Yeah, so I think that's the tricky thing. And I think that just goes to show how much like idol paranoia is such a big thing. Like we've seen past seasons where people literally won't vote for someone like Wendell and Dom just because you know that they have an idol. You're just too scared to ever vote for them. Like maybe it'll happen here. People are like David's being like Laurel, not always saying that he wants to vote Kelly, but never goes through with it. Honestly, I feel like it would be interesting because maybe last week, instead of Chris being voted out, if David and Rick went and worked with Chris and Keith and whoever and voted out Kelly, maybe last episode, maybe 2 episodes ago, maybe David wouldn't have lost his right hand man tonight.
yeah, and I think it's interesting too because when you look at the edit, David says, I think it was last week, it was either last week or the week before, he says, my survivor spidey senses are telling me now is the time to vote out Kelly. And then Kelly didn't get voted out. So like edit wise, I feel like that like makes it look kind of bad for David because it's like he said this thing, a pretty bold claim, and then just couldn't follow through on it. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, because I think especially last week, like you voted out Chris and someone who, like, potentially you could have worked with or maybe been loyal. Obviously, you know, we don't know everything, but instead you traded up for Kelly and you had this happen this week. I don't know. I think it would just be interesting. Like, if things were different, alternative universe, if you kept Chris going into the tribe swap and then just had Lauren and War Dog maybe pissed off at you for the week. You never know how the tribe swap's gonna go, whatever. But like what's happened. Rick is gone, and I'm sort of like, War Dog has been the deciding factor in the past 3 votes. War Dog wanted Keith to go. War Dog wanted Chris to go last week. War Dog was the middle person in this week's vote. And it just seems like, I don't know, vote War Dog out since he's the middleman, but you don't vote the middleman out unless they're not helping your side. So
Yeah, I think one of the things about War Dog is everyone seems to be aware of the fact that he's the middleman, and
Hmm.
they like take that into account. And so it's like I think the middleman is more dangerous when they're more wishy-washy, but I feel like War Dog is very decisive and he like knows what he wants, which I think is better than a middleman who's kind of like, maybe, maybe. So I agree with you though. I think that they should take War Dog out just because like if he's orchestrating this much behind the scenes of pre-merge, I feel like post-merge he can get really, really dangerous if he's able to just like basically tell people where to go and get his way.
Yeah, because we've seen him get his way the past 3 tribal councils and still, like, doesn't have the target on his back, which I think it does make a lot of sense, like, "Oh, he's not a wishy-washy middle person, so let's keep him around because you know where he's gonna go." I think it would also be interesting to know, like, if Lauren told Kelly and War Dog that she had a hidden immunity idol, and that's why War Dog voted Rick out because it seems like maybe War Dog could have went either way, even though we do see like Rick and Kelly or War Dog and Kelly as like seemingly tight, and that's why War Dog wanted to vote Chris out last week, kind of thing. So I guess it would be interesting to know if Lauren did tell Kelly and War Dog, and that's why they chose to not vote her out yesterday. But I think it would have also been funny to see Lauren voted out with a hidden immunity idol.
Yeah. I feel like that's one of the like main survivor embarrassments is voting being voted out with an idol. So I felt bad for Lauren this week though. Like poor Lauren.
Yeah, which is also interesting because she's only had 6 total confessionals and her tribe has gone to tribal council every single time. Episode 3, she didn't have a single confessional. So it seems like, oh, like maybe she could be voted out with an idol because she's not getting as much airtime as everyone else. But Julia still has 0 confessionals. So there's also that. So we have 2 ends of the spectrum.
Totally forgot that there was a player named Julia on this season.
That's what everyone on Facebook is saying. It's Julia Carter, our English teacher.
I think it's also because there's a Julie. If someone mentions Julia, like if you're talking about the season and someone's like, oh yeah, Julia, blah, 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 you just assume they meant Julie.
Yeah, which everyone on the Yellow Tribe is pretty invisible, I would say, because we have not seen them go to tribal council yet. Honestly, this week I was really hoping with the tribe swap that things we would see more of the players. Literally, we've only seen Kelly, David, Rick, War Dog, and Lauren for the first 4 weeks. Barely even know everyone else's name. Like, are they even on the show? Joe is going to make it to the merge without even going to a tribal council again. So I don't know. I would just like to see other people go to tribal council, and hopefully that will happen next week because I'm sort of it's just like, okay, they're all crying about voting out one of their good friends now. And if they go again to tribal council next week, it's like, are you voting out David?
Yeah, and I think also just I really want to see more of the other players before the merge, but the way this edit is like looking to me is that like the players on X whatever they were before X level shoot. I can never remember the tribe names, I just remember the colors. The X blue tribe, now green tribe, is that like they're gonna be major players after the merge just because a lot of the times, even if a tribe doesn't go to tribal council, they'll try to show something about them. And I feel like all we really got this week as far as non like strategy stuff was Wendy and her damn chickens.
So yeah, this week tribe swap 2 to 3 tribes, and literally the most probably boring tribe swap ever because no one got switched around. You have the larger old yellow tribe become 2 smaller tribes, and then everyone but Wendy from the old blue tribe got moved to become the new green tribe. And it's like, I'm over watching the blue tribe continue to lose, or ex blue tribe, now green tribe, continue to lose. And I'm like, Kelly and David were on the puzzle last week when they lost. Kelly and David are on the puzzle this week and they lost. And like, haven't both of them done that challenge before? At least I'm pretty sure Kelly had in Second Chance. And I'm like, are they rigging? Are they purposely losing like the puzzles every time? I'm like, if you keep losing the puzzle and you, Kelly, and David are on the puzzle every single week, are you just that bad at puzzles? Why is no one else going up there? Or are you purposely losing to keep going to tribal council to vote people out?
And I feel like for both of them, purposefully losing is the bad choice when it's become rather obvious that the newbies want to vote out returning players. So I think they're really just bad at puzzles.
Because I'm like, yeah, like the intentional Matt Sing people is like, oh, that's a strategy. But I feel like Survivor would not publicize an intentional Matt Sing as a legitimate strategy for viewers because then that makes the show boring if every single person on the tribe is purposely trying to lose to decimate their tribe. So they go into the merge with smaller numbers and then they come out victorious because they go into the merge at a numbers disadvantage kind of thing. Like, I feel like producers would not be showing that kind of strategy on TV. They've been really against like purposefully losing challenges to go to tribal council, that kind of thing. So I feel like that they wouldn't publicize it even if they are trying to intentional Matt Sing. But with that, I don't know. I think it's a very hard strategy to do because it's like you're purposefully losing to dwindle your numbers. But what goes to say that when you're purposely losing, you don't get yourself voted out in the process, or your numbers are so dwindled that it ends up being a pagonging at the merge? And especially with this tribe swap where they really aren't swapping tribes, but like just basically becoming a smaller version of themselves. It seems like the old yellow tribe is very, very outwardly wanting to stay together. Like in the immunity challenge, when the first one won and they're cheering for the other tribe, like you could get yourself into a pagonging situation.
Yeah, I feel like the closest that has come to like a tribe swap like this was on Rob and Amber's season when they did like their flip flop and it's like they were the odd people out. So that's the like whenever people were talking about I've never seen something like this before, that was the thing that like immediately popped into my head where it was like there was like one flip flop. So yeah.
And it's like, I feel like the purpose of tribe swapping before the merge, and that's why they've been doing it every season, is to have a more murky merge when people got to know other people before rather than just having two tribes of 10 and then you merge when they've gotten small enough numbers. But it's like now it's still literally two tribes of the same group and they're going to go into the merge. Granted, we haven't seen old yellow tribe ever go to tribal, so we really don't know where their lines are drawn. So maybe things are different. Maybe not everyone really loves each other kind of thing on the old yellow tribe, as all the lovey-dovey, happy dancing, singing, comma tribe is doing all the time. But it just seems like, I don't know, blue tribe, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, and I thought it was funny because they even said the new Green tribe said at the beginning they were like, "I think we're pretty physically matched with this tribe," and it's like, oh, kids, you still managed to lose.
Yeah, so I think it will be interesting next week. Hopefully, one of the other tribes, but Green, goes to tribal. But I honestly, for Joe's new tribe, still on yellow, I really don't see Joe losing an immunity challenge. I can see Joe going into the merge again with a not going to a single tribal. So I honestly feel like it'll be between Green and blue next week, and then hopefully blue loses because I think that will be a lot more interesting with like Wendy and all of that, besides watching Kelly and David.
Yeah, I really think that Wendy is. mm, She's not setting herself up well for a good post merge game if she even makes it to the merge. Just because she's managed to piss off everyone on her old tribe and now everyone on her new tribe literally over like 4 chickens. And I really respect that she has a whole thing about like saving lives or whatever, but it's like My darling, my dear one.
I think it's so funny. Wendy is the only odd person out, and then she's on the tribe with the chickens still. Like, if she got moved to any of the other two tribes, she wouldn't have to worry about the chickens being killed because she wouldn't have to witness it. Something is off about this merge. I'm like, there's very small possibility that this happens, kind of thing. I think it's cute. Wendy feels bad for the chickens. I'm honestly surprised that chickens are still on Survivor. Like, we've seen Ty with the chickens, now Wendy. Like, is PETA not all up in their ass about killing chickens, kind of thing? So I think it's interesting. And like, so many people are becoming vegetarian and vegan that like I'm surprised there's no like animal rights outrage about this kind of thing. But like, it makes sense. We all eat chicken in daily life unless you don't in your diet. So I don't know. It's just an interesting like dialogue to have, I guess, or a debate for people.
Yeah, it's like, why is it different now that you're the one killing the chicken? Like, if you're okay eating it at home, you should be okay eating it on the island. Like, a chicken is still dying no matter what happens. So I thought it was interesting how Wendy suddenly became a very rabid vegetarian. And I think it's also interesting because you have to think about like your dietary needs on the island. Like Lauren was talking about how the rice was making her sick. And I was like, hmm.
Yeah, so I don't know, animal rights activists, I think someone should get on this. If like, it seems like people are very adamant on either end of the spectrum with the chicken debate. And we've seen more people that are very into their chickens on Survivor. So I could see, I don't know, is that lawsuit worthy? Maybe. We will see. I think it's very interesting also. Wendy lets all the chickens free. And I think her social game maybe not so good strategy wise, but I think she is doing one thing right in making herself like giving Aubrey and the whole new tribe all this information that she's sort of an asset until you don't have any new information to give and then you can vote her off. But she's become like, so people don't think she can win, that she's the perfect person to take to the end as a goat, which I think it's smart to vote her out so she can't be used as a goat. But it's like, why would you sort of, waste your time voting her out? And she's good TV. So it's sort of be sucky if she gets voted out. But if you can use her as a goat, more reason to keep her around.
I think that Wendy on Extinction Island would drive everyone else insane. There would be a slew of people quitting. It would be great.
Yeah, get rid of Reem.
One of the things that annoys me about Extinction Island is that literally every time someone comes on Extinction Island, Reem is pissed at them. And it's like, come on, dude.
She would literally say, like, come on, man, come on, dude. Like, her whole like quote this time about like, it's Extinction Island, bruh. I'm like, why do you have to use these gendered pronouns in every other sentence? Like, are you hazing these people when they're coming to Extinction Island? Like, sure, you can be bitter at them, but like, you're literally like excluding them and making Keith be a bully to them too. I'm like, just quit already. And like, when Extinction Island is getting two segments on the screen and all you hear is Reem giving confessionals, I'm like, holy crap. Like, mute the TV. It's just too much. If it's other people on Extinction Island, fine. But I like guarantee when we see Rick go to Extinction Island, we're going to hear the exact same thing we heard this week, where Reem is really pissed off and it's going to be like, oh, we had it so much worse than you. You voted us out. We can be mad and bully you now. And I'm like, sure, be bitter. But it's like, if you were actually voted out of the game, you'd all still have to live together in the pre-jury house. So like, chill.
I think that Chris's way of looking at the whole Extinction Island thing is a lot like healthier, where it's like, yeah, they
Yeah.
can be mad at me, but for now we still like might need each other. And I hated how quickly Reem did the turnaround as soon as Chris got a fish. I was like, come on, man. That just means that you didn't actually have a grievance against him. You were just being pissy.
Yeah, you're just bored. So you want to like haze the new people coming to Extinction Island. Go read the sign yourself, like Holiday Inn, whatever. I'm like, oh my God.
Mm.
Stop giving her confessionals. But we know Keith and Chris don't give like that enticing confessionals, and that's why Reem is getting so much screen time.
So hopefully next week Rick will get more screen time because he gives better confessionals than Reem.
Yeah. That's why I'm like, Rick is such a compelling storyteller, gives good confessionals, especially for a new player. And I'm like, dang, gone too soon, kind of thing. So Aubrey last week also she found an idol. She gets the flashbacks too, like Kelly did in the second episode. I'm like, wow, interesting, better turn around with her edit from the second episode where she's getting the stupid I'm an idiot edit with like telling everyone the same thing, even though it's over a span of 6 days. So like you probably use the same phrases a lot, but okay. And then now she gets the whole triumph arc edit where she's like, oh, crying, never found an idol, and now she has found an idol. And I felt so sad. I was so happy for her. I'm like, wow, this is such a great scene.
Yeah. I just like I think it was interesting too when you look at the edit. Like Aubrey was like, there are two things I haven't done in Survivor: gotten an idol and won. And like, I'm not an edgic expert. I just dabble a little. They're not doing edgic this season, which I think is a little sad. But anyways, I think like edit wise, it would be interesting if that was like foreshadowing her winning, because it's like there are two things I haven't done in Survivor. I've done this one thing, and now am I going to get to do the other? So
Yeah, and Purdium also had Aubrey in his four contenders list for winners, and like I could see it with Aubrey. We'll see next week as well with people are saying it's a double episode, so like 2 hours, I believe, which I don't think we've seen a pre-merge 2-hour episode. It's all been like a merge episode, meaning maybe the first episode is going to be crap and then the second episode is going to be good, so maybe a waste of 40 minutes to an hour watching the first one, or maybe it's a good like back-to-back boot that makes a lot of sense storyline wise. Guess we will see, but if it's Kelly or David, I'm like, we don't want to see Blue Tribe go to tribal. Old Blue Tribe.
yeah, I think it would be a fun episode or a fun 2 episodes if it was like two returning players who got out back to back. But yeah,
More time for Extinction Island when you have 2 hours worth of fun to sit through.
oh my
But
goodness.
I'm excited. Alyssa's spring break is this week. My spring break is the week after next week. So next week we will have an early podcast on Thursday talking about potentially the two-hour episode, or maybe it's 2 episodes squeezed into 1 hour. Guess we'll see. It's all a surprise. But I'm still so shook over Rick going home.
Yeah, I'm shook too. I'm also really excited to see what happens next week. Let us know in the comments below who you think is going home. Do you think that the old blue tribe slash new green tribe will finally triumph? We don't know, but we want to hear what you guys have to say, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.